Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody has had a great week and is having a good weekend. I hope you're all staying healthy, staying strong, and you're being optimistic. Welcome, Nut, Khyber, Janil, Irfan, Arda. Good to see many members already in the class and ready to learn. Welcome, Waten. All right. And I see we have a new member as well who's just joined the Premium Plus package, Hassan Mohammed. Welcome. That's fantastic. You've made a really good choice joining that Premium Plus package because you're going to get some speaking and writing with me directly. Hassan, send me an email today, adrian@aehelp.com, and we can set up your mock IELTS speaking interview and writing session. So that's exciting. All right. Welcome, students. So this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. That's academicenglishhelp.com for academic IELTS. Visit us there. And for the general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com, where we've got lots and lots of help for you to improve your English, your communication, and of course your IELTS scores. I'll quickly show you these websites. So this is our academic IELTS website here with the blue background. You can click that big red button to join our premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. And like Hassan, if you join the Premium Plus membership or the Premium membership on our YouTube channel, we also give you access to all of our course and content on our website, either the academic or the general, depending on which one you need. This is our general IELTS website here at gieltshelp.com. Again, you can click that big red button to join the premium package there. Welcome, Fatima, Syed, Sameh, Commerce. Good to see everybody in our general English help channel as well. So students, this is a question and answer session. So that means in this class, you get to ask me questions about the IELTS exam and I will answer them. It's first come, first serve. So the first question that I see, I will answer. If I see questions that are related to each other, like two different people are asking similar questions about the writing or the speaking, then I'll try to link them up so that we're being efficient. And of course, I'll look for questions that I know many students are curious about or are going to be helpful, okay? All right, so we do these classes every couple weeks. Usually it's either speaking or writing or reading or listening that we're focusing on. But every couple of weeks I do one class where it's just a Q&A, so question and answer. You ask me a question. Sometimes I'll ask you a question back, and then I'll give you answers, okay? Of course, if you do not get an answer from me, you can always send your question by email to adrian@aehelp.com. And if you have access to our websites, again, you can join them by clicking those big red buttons. And once you join, you have a My Student account. And in your My Student account, you'll find lots of content. So you'll find computer-based IELTS practice tests, online academic IELTS course that takes about 60 hours. It's interactive. You can use it on your phone. You've got exams, workbooks. You've got over 100 HD lesson videos. So you've got lots and lots there. And then you even have this section here, the forum, the blog, and the contact us. I'll darken this up just for a second so you can kind of see that better. And there's lots and lots of information there as well to your questions, like how should I start my essay? What do I do for agree, disagree essays, or when I have to discuss both sides? So all of that information you can search for. And if you click on, for instance, blog, then in the blog you'll find lots. We have well over 100 blogs, and you can even search, like I'll give you an example, comma use. Okay, so sometimes students ask, hey, how do I use commas, right? And then here right away, you have IELTS task 1 and 2 using commas, 12 rules to follow. So if you don't get your question answered in this class, don't panic. You've got lots of resources with us to get your answers at another time as well. So don't freak out, okay? All right, let me just go back to our syllabus for today and let me brighten us up a little bit because this is a darker background. There we go. Okay, and then just a couple more important points here. So our schedule, students, this is very important. Please pay attention to this. Our schedule from October 2nd to the middle of the month, October 16th. Okay. Today we have this Q&A session, and then we have another class today in about 90 minutes. That will be an all-chat class, speaking part 3 for everyone. Now, from October 3rd to the October 12th, there's no live classes. I'm on a bit of a holiday. I'm going on a trip. And then I'm back on the 13th with speaking part 1. But during that holiday break, so during that time that I'm gone on the trip, we will be releasing new HD videos for the speaking and other sections. So definitely watch the notifications on your phone from our channel, and you're going to see lots of good content coming out as well. Okay. All right. So that's kind of it for all of my preamble. And then we'll have lots and lots of classes after my break, of course. So no need to worry there. Let's get into some questions so I can see that some of you are already kind of getting in there. And our newest member, I think it's Mohammed. Don't be shy. Get in there. Okay. Or Hassan, sorry. Yeah, Hassan Mohammed. So don't be shy. Get in there. We've got a couple new members. All right. So go ahead and ask me some questions. I'm very happy to answer any questions that you have about the IELTS exam. I've been teaching IELTS for well over 10 years now. I've trained for the IELTS. I've examined the IELTS. I've sat the IELTS, as you know. We are a British Council test registration center. I'm a certified British Council agent. So if I don't know the answer, it's not many people that might know the answer outside of me. So yeah, just fire away, ask me a question. I'm a university graduate from the University of Victoria here. It's a big university, internationally recognized. My major is psychology. I focused on developmental and educational psychology. So I've got a pretty good idea of how our noggin works. I speak multiple languages. I speak Hungarian, I speak Japanese, so I know about language learning. I've lived in other countries for years at a time, so I know about living in other countries' cultures. So you can ask me just about anything. Okay? I'm well-traveled. All right. Okay, so let's see. I see that there's already a few questions coming up. Okay. All right, Arda has an interesting statement. Arda is saying that since my school started, I haven't been able to focus on the IELTS exam as much as I was studying for IELTS in the summer. I go to school 7 days a week because I'm preparing for my final exams too. All right. You know, Arda, you're not really asking me a question there, but I kind of feel your stress. And I do have something clever to say to what your situation is. And I think a lot of our viewers have the same feeling. Like, I'm so busy, I need to make money, I've got family, I've got school, life is difficult in the place where I live. And that, I think, is common for many, many people in the world. It's common in the West as well. So it's common, especially with COVID these days. This is common in the US and Canada. People are busy, they're under a lot of stress, but they don't want to give up their life goals. And I'm going to, Arda, make your statement into a question that I think might be interesting for people. And if it's not, let me know, but I think it is. Okay, so Arda, I'm so busy with life. How can I prepare for the IELTS exam effectively? Okay. Does everybody think this is a fair question to ask? Because I think it's a good one. I think it's a good interpretation of what you're saying, Arda. Okay. And my answer here is you have to master A, time management, B, multitasking, and C, efficiency. Okay. This is also reflected in the IELTS exam. Okay. I.e., the 60-minute reading section. So the reality is, everyone, that with 8 billion of us on the planet, competition is out of control. The competition for good quality life in the world today is unmatched historically. Nothing even comes close in the past 2,000 years. And time management, multitasking, and doing your life efficiently has become critical focus points of having a successful, happy, good quality life. So believe me, I have a 2-month-old baby. I run a business. I do sports. I still go on trips. As you know, I'm going on a trip right now. I wake up at 4:30, 4 days a week in the morning, but I manage my time. So I do a lot of multitasking and a lot of different kinds of steps to multitask and to be efficient. So you have to do the same. And a couple of just quick tips for the IELTS is force yourself to use English. Whenever possible. If you know the person speaks English, do not speak in your own language to make it easier. Choose the more difficult path and say, hey, let's speak or let's talk in English so that I can hit 2 birds with 1 stone, meaning we can catch up and I can practice for my exams and life skills. Okay? So a lot of people have someone in their life that speaks English, their wife, their girlfriend, boyfriend, their best friend, their classmate, and they know that they both speak English to a decent level, but they still choose their own language because, hey, I'm tired, I don't want to do that, I want to speak quickly, I want to express myself clearly, but you could be speaking English and you could be more efficient. So Arda, find ways to maximize your time. If you're sitting on a bus, listen to some English audio, right? If you're watching TV, watch it in English, okay? So there are ways to maximize your time and to be more efficient and to multitask. And at the end of the day, you will be better for it and you'll be proud of yourself, okay? So I know some people are like, ugh, really? But yeah, that's what you have to do, okay? All right? Does that make sense, everyone? So yeah, life is busy. You're not alone. Many of us are there with you. And if you want to come out on top and be ahead of the competition, you have to do that. You have to multitask. You have to maximize your time. Okay? All right? Arda, maybe you can't join the classes visually when you're going to school, but maybe you can put on the audio. You can just listen to me, right? I know that some students have done that in the past. I had one student who would always listen to my lectures while driving to work, and they would sometimes stop at a light or something and type, hey, Adrian, I'm not watching you, but I'm listening, and this is my answer. Careful, don't be dangerous, okay? Don't text and drive, but yeah, there's ways to do that. All right, Janiel says, got it. Absolutely. Awesome. Syed Nijmul is asking, what's the best book for IELTS preparation? That's always a good question, right? So a lot of students ask this question. This is Syed asking this question. What is the best book for IELTS preparation? And this kind of ties in to the previous question, because I was telling you that you have to learn efficiently, okay? So efficiently means that you're not just multitasking, but you're maximizing your use of time, okay? So for instance, efficient learning is not rote memory, okay? So efficient learning is using critical thinking. So what is the best book for IELTS for IELTS preparation? Well, Syed, the answer there is, it really depends what your area of weakness is, okay? So if you are poor at writing, you need to get a book that focuses on improving your writing skills, okay? For instance, however, the most important, so to give you kind of just some general advice, the most important when choosing a book to get ready for IELTS is that it reflects the test accurately. Okay? Some books are IELTS, but they are actually very different. And that's the same with websites. Okay? So make sure the practice exams have the same format and are the same difficulty, okay? So IELTS has a certain level of difficulty, and some practice exam books out there, like for instance Barron's, especially the older ones. I haven't looked at the newer Barron's, maybe they've changed, but the older Barron's practice exams, it's a popular book. They're quite a bit easier than the real exam. So if you're going to get practice exam books, the first that I'm going to suggest are the exam books on our website. So if you go to your My Student account on our website, and we specifically developed these books here that you can download. So download these exams and workbooks. We specifically developed these to be basically exactly the same format and difficulty as the real IELTS exam. The other ones, and I'll show you what I mean. So here's one of our books here. And if you go to one of the tests, then you're going to see that these tests basically look exactly the same as what you will see in the real IELTS exam, and their length and their difficulty is all the same. In fact, one of the problems studying online, even from the British Council IELTS materials, is they often don't give you the full material. So you read a paragraph and you're like, oh, this is easy. But it's not a full passage, okay? So if, you're going, oh, Adrian's advertising his own materials, that's great, which maybe is true, but I'll give you another tip, okay? So If you're not using our exam books at aehelp.com or gieltshelp.com, then use the Cambridge past exam books. I think there's like 15. Some of you might know better than me, but I think there's 15 books now. Use especially like 10 to 15. As these are the most recent versions, okay? So focus on those. Those are really good for practice. They're basically exams that IELTS gave a few years ago, and they've made those into books now. So it's like you're actually doing old IELTS exams, and those are pretty good. The other thing that you really want to focus on, CED, is make sure that if you're doing the general IELTS, use general IELTS exams. If you're doing academic, use academic. Don't really mix them unless you've done so many general that you're like, okay, I've run out of materials. I'm going to use an academic. All right. Jaineel says there's 16 now. Thank you, Jaineel, for that. So it's 10 to 16. And each one has 4 full practice exams. Now, be careful with the early ones. They're a little bit different. The test has changed. Like books 1 to 4, if you find those somewhere, they're kind of old. The exam has changed since those first 4 books were released. From about book 5 on, the exam hasn't changed too much, just small little changes, but books 1 to 4, be careful. They do look a little bit different, okay? So yeah, Jaineel saying books 8 to 16 he thinks are the best. I think 5, 6 are okay as well, but definitely 1 to 4. Be careful about that, okay? And make sure you focus on the correct version of the test. So good question there, Sayed, okay? Yeah, Tutal Ahmed says, I finished 10 to 16 and I want to prepare more, which are good for me. So Tutal, you can still do, like according to Jaineel, 8 and 9 for sure. Tutul, you can use the books on our websites as well. They're really, really good, okay? And if you're doing the computer-based practice exam, then practice computer-based IELTS tests, okay? Also, make sure to practice online computer-based full exams, okay? And you can do that on our website as well. So again, on the website, you have the computer-based practice exams that are timed. There they are. So you can click through those and use those, okay? So if you're doing computer-based exams, find them. I think there's some other websites that offer them as well. There's some apps that have them. Our app has it as well, Academic IELTS Help app. So check those out, okay? All right, let's take another question. So let's jump back here. All right, Kyber's asking, sir, while practicing writing task 1 questions, should we practice questions like bar graph today, next day line graph, or do we need to randomly practice different questions? Okay, so that's specifically for the academic IELTS exam. Like, how do I practice for task 1, right? Because there's so many different possible essay types there. That's a great question, Kyber. So Kyber is basically asking, like, how do I, what do I do for practicing academic IELTS task 1? All right. That's a solid question, Kyber. Let's keep this simple. And this is, again, going back a little bit to efficiency, right? So task 1, academic. Writing. is an expository essay that you write in the third person voice. So as a first step, you need to understand expository writing rules and third person voice rules. Okay, I'm not going to go into that in great detail because that's easily, as some of you know, like half a class by itself. But basically you need to start with that. Now, beyond that, okay, so beyond understanding expository in third person, and it doesn't matter what type of task one you're looking at. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at a line graph, a bar chart, a pie chart. They're all expository essays written in the third person voice, okay? So that you have to understand that because that's a foundation for task one academic. Now, the second point that you have to understand, and this is very important, is understand the different purpose of different types of graphs, okay? So when to use a line graph, when to use a bar graph, when to use a pie chart, when to use a flow chart, when to use a diagram. How many do we have so far? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got line, we've got bar, we've got pie, we've got flow, we've got diagram, we've got a process diagram, let's say, and you also have when to use a map, let's say. Right? So you do have to understand the different points about this, especially line graph, pie chart, bar chart. You really have to have clarity on that, okay? So I'll give you, without going into a lot of detail because we could talk lots about this. By the way, you can find all this information in our academic IELTS course. And yeah, Kyber, you should practice different ones at different times. Before we get into this, I'll teach you a very important and interesting point, useful for university. There are 4 different standards for data measures. Okay. Does anybody know what those are? I'll give you the first one. It's nominal, which means name data. Like that's, for instance, male and female, or smoker, non-smoker, or USA, Canada, Japan. Okay, so that's nominal data. What are the other 3 types of data that we use in school? Anybody know? Okay. And these are basic fundamentals, and you need to know this for the IELTS exam, and you need to know this for university for sure, especially if you're going into any science subject. Okay, so Mohit says there's ordinal, there's ratio, and there's interval data. Very good. Okay, all right, nice, yeah. So there's ordinal, which means first, second, third, and so on. Okay, the distance between measures varies. There's also interval, okay, which is 0 Celsius, 10 degrees, 20 degrees. Okay. That's where the distance between measures are equal, or equal distance, right? So other examples of this would be like centimeters, liters, hours. Okay, those would also fall into the interval category. It's the most common, all right? And then, yeah, so you're absolutely right, Mohit. There's also ratio, which are the absolutes. So ratio is the same as interval, but has an absolute 0 where there is an absence of the measure. Okay, so a good example for you to understand this is in if you're into chemistry and physics is Kelvin. Okay, where 0 degrees is absolute 0 and there is no movement of molecules. Okay, so Kelvin measures temperature just like Celsius, but the difference between Celsius and Kelvin, Celsius measures temperature according to the freezing point of water, and Kelvin measures according to the absolute 0, which is, I think, minus 278 degrees. I'm not a science major, so I wouldn't know too much about that. But anyway, why am I saying this? So some of you are probably like, why is Adrian talking about these when we're talking about IELTS? And that's a good question, okay? When you're writing about line graphs, when you're writing about bar graphs, pie charts, they're used for different reasons to compare different types of data. So you have to be clear on this. If you want to get a band 7 or more in your academic IELTS writing, it's really important to know some of the basics of data measurements and interpreting data based on graphs and charts. A lot of this is taught in grade 11 and grade 12 high school, so you have to know it because they expect you to know this in university for your classes, okay? They're not going to reteach this in many of your majors. They will be like, well, why don't you know this? I thought you wrote the IELTS exam. I thought you did this already, right? So I'll give you an example of this. So when you have a line graph, okay, anybody know what kinds of data line graphs are used to compare? So line graph, you often will have percent of people, let's say, in a year. Okay, so what I mean by this is you will have, for instance, like some numbers here and some numbers here. So line graphs are doing what? So what kind of information is a line graph presenting to you? Okay, and you cannot write the same way, and I see this as a very common mistake for IELTS candidates, is they write about a bar graph and a line graph and a pie chart the same way. They're like, it's rapidly increasing from 1940 to 1960. Rapidly increasing from 1940 to 1960 is only for a line graph. If you write rapidly increasing from 1940 to 1960 for a bar graph or a pie chart, you're going to lose marks because those kinds of charts don't show that information. Okay? So Kyber says to indicate improvement. Not really. So this y-axis is interval data. Okay? This is usually interval or ordinal. Okay? So months or some kind of specific time or distance. Okay, time and distance are usually the examples professors give. So time over distance. And if you have time over distance, you usually have two types of interval data. So Rashika says it's continuous. Yeah. So what line graphs show So line graphs show correlations between interval data on a continuous path. Okay, that's probably a better way to word that, but you get the idea. Okay, so you have to understand clearly that a line graph is used to show correlation, so the relationship. As one goes up, the other one goes down, or as one goes up, the other one also goes up, or as one goes down, the other one also goes down. There's negative, positive correlations. I don't want to get into that too much, but line graphs are used to show correlations between interval data on a continuous path or on a continuous set of data points, okay? Let's jump a little bit here. Bar chart. People often confuse line graphs with bar charts, or sorry, pie charts in their writing. Pie charts are used to depict proportions of nominal data from a whole. Okay, so maybe it's because I'm hungry. So it's like, let's say, types of pizza that are ordered from a survey of 1,000 people. So you have pepperoni pizza, Hawaiian pizza, vegetarian pizza, and so on. Those different kinds of pizza, that's nominal data, okay? That's not an interval data, that's nominal data. And 1,000 people are asked, that's the whole. And then you have pieces. And then you might have years like 1995 or 2000, which is interval data comparison with pie charts, but you're still looking at nominal data from the whole, okay? So clearly the language that you use and the information that you give when you're practicing a pie chart is very different than a bar chart, a map, or a line graph, okay? So you have to understand this. And again, this is a big, big topic, so we could spend a lot of time on this. If you go to, let me just collapse that. If you go to our website and you go to the full online course, let me just darken this up here, and then I'll show you where you can really just find all of this information nicely laid out. So you go there and you go to the writing section, and there's writing section, task 1, part A, I believe is where you'll find it. You click on it, it'll load up the content, and then it will basically explain to you all of the different types of graphs and chart uses. So let me see if I can zoom in here. I'm just using Wi-Fi, so it's a bit slower for me. But anyway, it'll be, let me see, writing task 1. Yeah, so there it is. Let's jump to that. Okay. So here you can kind of see them, and it goes through bar graph, line graph, pie chart, and then step by step it explains each one of these, how to use them, where to use them. And I know that many of you have access to our premium package, so make sure that a lot of students just like, oh, let's just watch the videos because it's Adrian, it's the videos. But we really want everybody to actually go through the course. That will really like step by step explain this for you. Okay, Kyber? All right, so Kyber says, got it. Okay, let's see. Tunul, you can contact me in many ways. I mentioned it at the beginning of the class. I'm not sure if you're asking me that question, but you can contact me my email. You can contact us through the website. So there's lots of different ways to contact us. Okay. All right. Let's see some more questions. Okay. We've got lots. I'm just looking for one that I think will be valuable for everyone here because I'm looking at 2 channels right now. Okay. All right. We've got a lot of nice comments. Thank you for that. All right. Arda says phones are not allowed in school. Yeah, definitely, Arda. Then you have to work around that, right? Mohit is asking, how can we improve speaking through the speaking sections? What's the best tip? Mohit, there's really no perfect answer to your question because it really depends on your speaking. Like, where do you lack your speaking ability? So is it with your fluency? Is it with your grammatical structure, coherence? Is it with your vocabulary base? Are you having difficulty finding the right words to express yourself? For instance, Mohit, if you're having difficulty finding the correct words, then I recommend doing a lot of reading, and especially reading aloud to improve your vocabulary base for your speaking. So reading helps vocabulary for speaking, especially reading aloud, okay? And the best tip, Mohit, if you had to, like if you held a gun to my head and said, Adrian, you have to give me the best tip for speaking ever, then I would just say speak as much as you can, as often as you can. So take the lesson of the 3-year-old child. Just talk, 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 no matter what you say. Don't worry about it. At the end, you will win, even if people are looking at you like you're crazy. Okay? All right. So Arda says, I just bought the English Vocabulary in Use book by Cambridge like 6-7 months ago, but I haven't studied that book yet because I was disappointed when the book was delivered to me. I didn't like the content. Yeah, Arda, I've heard that from a lot of people. I know the book. I think it's useless, okay? I think grammar books are okay because grammar is something we can always review. But vocabulary, I don't know if there's... So vocabulary is always best learned in context. And when you're learning vocabulary from a book that's got like these exercises for you, often that's very inefficient. You're just better off using that same time to use vocabulary in context. Read a book in English that you like, learn it in context, and you'll remember it better. So I'm not a big fan of vocabulary exercise books. I find them to be often very inefficient. Somebody might disagree with me on that, but that's my personal experience. So when I was learning Japanese, I always felt, in Hungarian too, I always felt that I learned vocabulary way faster, way better when I used it with people, when I heard it from people. I wrote it down. I made some flashcards from the vocabulary that I heard, that I used. And I learned it much faster than when I was looking at books and then filling in blanks and just trying to copy. And that was just really slow and painful. Okay? All right. So there are also some, like the Rosetta Stone learning method for vocabulary. I think that's fairly useful because they teach it to you in context. Okay? So Rosetta Stone is something you might want to check out for vocabulary. Okay, so to improve vocabulary, the best is to learn it through contextual use in real situations. If you can, check out Rosetta, I think it's Rosetta Stone. I'm not sure. Yeah, you'll have to Google that. Rosetta Stone, like that, yeah? Okay. So check that out. That teaches you in context. It's a type of course, Natalie. Yeah, that's right. But again, it teaches vocabulary in context, and it's quite effective. It's one of the most proven methods, and it's been around for years and years now. Yeah. Okay. Mohammed Kahat, how to improve focus and concentration during the listening, as I always lose the focus of the speaker. Visualize and become a part of the speaking. So Mohammed is asking, how do I stay focused during the listening section? Two ways, Mohammed. Number one is visualize it. For example, the listening is about a visit to the doctor. Become the doctor. Or patient, and picture what you hear. Okay, so that's very important. The brain today, especially because of the crazy world around us, it gets bored when it feels like it's far away from the information. So you want to bring the information closer to you, and you do that by being there, by seeing it and being a part of it. Okay. So if you're seeing yourself sitting in a classroom with me, I am at the front of the classroom, or you're maybe my teacher's assistant and you're here with me, it might be easier to stay focused on what I'm saying, okay, rather than if you're sitting at your computer and kind of staring at your wall and half listening to me. So become a part of the information. All right, students, I'm going to stop there for today. We had lots of great questions there. And a lot of good content. Again, we could go for hours and hours, I'm sure. If you didn't get an answer to your question, don't panic, don't freak out. Again, we've got lots of resources to help answer your questions. A great way to communicate questions as well is through email. You can send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com, and either myself or one of my colleagues will definitely get back to you and we'll answer your questions as best as we can. If we don't know, then we'll certainly tell you where you can find more information. So, and of course, one place where you can do that is our website. So aehelp.com for academic IELTS, glshelp.com for general IELTS. For the academic IELTS, you're looking for this website here. And again, you can click the big red button to join our premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. Doesn't cost very much. You get a lot of content. Okay, so that's it for right now. But I will be back in 30 minutes with a speaking part 3 class. That will be some speaking questions for part 3. We're going to practice speaking. We're going to talk some strategy. So thank you so much. Carlos, Rashika, Janil, Natalie are some of our new members. Hassan, thank you for joining our Premium Plus membership package. Khyber, I see you're over on the General English as well. Mohammed, Tutul, nice interaction there. Have a good break, everyone. Hopefully I'll see all of you back in half an hour for some speaking. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out for now, but I will be back soon. Bye.